Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another The Sports Scoop video. Today, I don't have Serge, I don't have Dylan, I don't have Charlie with me. I have STEEZY A Smith. It's not, he's an awesome guy, another sports journalist. STEEZY, how you doing today?
Man, I'm feeling great, bro. It's an honor to be on. It's a pleasure to
Yeah,
be on. Thanks so much for having me.
of course, of course. As you can see, his attire for this episode is much better than mine. Got to upgrade that. Now I got some competition, but today we're talking about, as you've probably seen by the thumbnail, Russell Wilson. Steezy is a Seahawks fan. I've been watching a lot of his content. A lot of the videos or stuff he's been on has been, centered towards Russell Wilson. Today, news has not leaked. News has started to come up that like third of the NFL has inquired about Russell Wilson going to the Seahawks, and sorry, not to the Seahawks, Russell Wilson being traded. And to me, obviously when this first broke, it was like, nah, there's no way. Top 5 quarterback in his prime. He just wants a little bit of say in his organization and in a team where, Carroll has a ton of say. One of the most powerful head coaches in the NFL. He's a ton of say in their offense and really everything they do, draft picks, their 53-man roster. But now that teams are inquiring about him, there has to be some substance to this because, teams aren't just going to call it if the Seahawks aren't willing to trade. So what are your thoughts on that Wilson might get traded?
In my honest opinion, not to sound like a homer, but he's not going to get traded, at least not this offseason. As we all know, the Seahawks are going to take a record-breaking $39 million in terms of their dead cap hit. The
Right.
Colts, I mean, the Eagles have that record right now, $33 million in that trade that they sent Carson Wentz to the Indianapolis Colts. But with the Seahawks, being that they're a win-now team, I just don't see them being able to eat that up. I mean, $39 million in dead cap. They'd have to
Right.
receive a bounty of draft picks, including a young quarterback, including other elite pieces. But I think that we're not too far away from a Super Bowl. We need, definitely a competent offensive line, but we're only a couple pieces away from a Super Bowl. And so trading away Russell Wilson would signal a rebuild. If we were to do something like that, I don't think
Yeah.
Jamal Adams would want to resign. And so there's a whole bunch of dominoes to kind of think about. But right now, once again, not to sound like a homer, I don't think we're trading Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and I agree. And if I'm the Seahawks, why would you? I mean, we've seen this, and I don't mean we've seen what has happened where a quarterback wants something from a head coach who's too powerful, he goes away. The Tom Brady trade, we saw Belichick is the most powerful head coach. He has so much say in what they do in that organization. He just wanted a good receiver, and then he goes to Tampa Bay and he's winning Super Bowls. And now, if you're Russell Wilson, he's asking for an offensive line in football where egos aren't like, it's not like Wilson has an ego or he wants an offensive line, which a quarterback should be entitled to. Russell Wilson has had the most season where he's been sacked, I believe, over 39 or 40 times, which, I mean, to Russell Wilson's luck, he's not had some serious injury, which has caused him to regress, like Carson Wentz. Prime example we've seen. He tears his ACL. He has great seasons, goes out, and then that Seahawks team falls apart. Now, obviously, he wins that trade to the Colts, but if I'm Russell Wilson, it's not that I think he should be traded, but I'm scared that Pete Carroll, which I can't see, but Pete Carroll might be blinded by I don't know what. I mean, again, I've said this so many times with Deshaun Watson, with Brady, like they're your franchise guy, they're top 5 quarterbacks. Why would you risk them leaving your team? And as you said, going into a rebuild, it just
Mhm.
it completely blows me away. I don't understand it.
And the way that I look at it too is like with Russell Wilson, there was a report today. His agent said that he doesn't want to trade. He hasn't demanded a trade.
Right.
These other teams are inquiring because they're simply doing their due diligence. I mean, there's so many teams around the league that don't have a franchise quarterback. And so even if a team was insistent on saying that, oh, we're not trading our star quarterback, take the Houston Texans, for example, the general manager, Nick Caserio, he's limited over and over again. We're not trading
We're
Deshaun
not trading
Watson,
Watson.
yet teams continue to call them. And so same goes for Seattle and Russell Wilson. Until Russell Wilson absolutely demands a trade, I don't see any scenario in which he's traded, especially when he had input in bringing in offensive coordinator or new offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. He had input in that hiring. So after providing input in that hiring, why would he now all of a sudden backtrack and say, oh, you know what, I want out? Then why did he even provide input in the first place? And so, like I said in the video that I just dropped, all he's doing is applying pressure. All he's doing is trying to make the Seahawks have a sense of urgency when it comes to addressing the offensive line. I mean, he's like one of those nice guys who finally isn't nice anymore.
Is he so
He's
nice?
exploding. He's finally, he's not being as passive as he once was. He's realizing that, you know, 394 sacks in 9 seasons. That amounts to 44 on average every single
Yeah,
year. The only year in which
exactly.
he didn't take over 40 was his rookie year, in which he took 33. And so, no way he's playing until 45 if he's taking 44 sacks a year. And
Right.
so, yeah, I get it. He needs a better offensive line. He's to blame for some of those sacks. But at the same time, I mean, I think Seattle should let Russ cook more often. I mean, like we did first 7, 8, 9 games of last season. I mean, we've catered to Russell Wilson before. Remember a year or two ago, he was like, I think we need a few more superstars. Well, Seattle responded by trading for Jadeveon Clowney. The year after, we traded a bounty for Jamal Adams. Russ was talking about, I want to run more up tempo. I want to cook. Like I just said, 7, 8 games last year, we let Russ cook. And so I think that this could be the final straw, and Seattle would be pretty stupid not to cater to him this time around.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's more right now, not right. Like I said, I mean, the NFL isn't an ego league. I mean, you see in the NBA, it's like Russell Westbrook. A big part of why people love him so much is he has such that ego and that hunger. You see,
Mm-hmm.
MLB players and people like Conor McGregor, part of them being successful and famous is they have those egos, and then go out and perform. With Russ, like you said, he doesn't have one. I mean, if Russ were to demand a trade, I would be surprised. With Watson, it makes sense. He's young, and the Texans are much far off than the Seahawks. Obviously, as the Seahawks were, disappointing season, and I think a big part, as you said, or a big part to attribute as to why. First of all, this year why he didn't have such a productive year is because of Pete Carroll. I mean, you saw in the beginning he was an MVP candidate. Those first 7 games, he was incredible, and
Mm-hmm.
then Pete Carroll switched to that because of his, power in the organization, switched to more of the run team, not as much giving Russ the ball, as you said, not as much letting Russ cook. He gets more sacks, more turnovers. We saw how the Rams have really caused him so many problems in the playoffs in the regular season. And
Mm-hmm.
now it's like the Seahawks have caused this bomb where if Russell, I mean, and obviously I've seen you guys talk about the Max Unger trade. That's the center's name, right? I know it's Unger.
Mm-hmm.
I always forget the first name, but you trade him away. Who's a great center, and we see now in free agency. There's good guards. You have Thuney, you have Scherf, you obviously have Lindsey from the Packers. You have some good
Mm-hmm.
tackles. You have Trent Williams. In the draft, it's very deep. Second round, we saw what you guys did last year in the late round, getting Ryan Lewis, that offensive guard who's been very good. And if I'm the Seahawks, the question is it worth it to let Russ go and become, because if you don't have Russ, you don't have you don't have a playoff team. I mean, if we think about it,
Exactly.
the defense was on and off, and then they got better, but that defense was awful. Especially, and it was when Adams out. No offense to you, but that defense was bad. I mean, I've been a Giants fan. I know what bad
Totally agree.
things have been like, and that offense as well later in the season, they just never clicked. The defense was never really good when the offense was really good. And you lose
Mm-hmm.
Russ, you lose your organization, you lose the face of Seattle, you lose the face of your organization. And Pete Carroll hasn't, and I don't mean to hate on your organization, Pete Carroll hasn't necessarily been an amazing coach in the past couple years. Someone who doesn't get a lot of scrutiny because he's a nice guy, he's not controversial.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think the Seahawks need to do to keep him? I know you don't think they will trade him, but what do you think they need to do to like ensure that he stays?
So, like I said earlier, continue to give him input when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to personnel decisions. That doesn't mean, oh, you have to run everything by Russell Wilson. It doesn't mean, oh, we're gonna sign this guy. What do you think about him? Oh, we're gonna sign this guy. What do you think? No, basically, what that means is you go up to Russell Wilson, you ask him for options. What do you want this offseason? Who do you want? Who do you want to target? Who do you want us to bring in? Maybe we don't have to listen to every single person that he lists because we're not gonna have the money for everybody, but definitely listen to him. Definitely give him a little bit of say. Definitely sign a few offensive linemen. Don't just draft linemen. Yes, I want us to draft a few linemen, but even if we were to draft some of the best offensive lineman prospects on the board, that's not a guarantee, not especially in the
Yeah.
rookie years. I mean, it's so difficult for rookie offensive linemen to be great in this league unless they're Quentin Nelson. And so I
Mm-hmm.
want us to attack and address, especially the interior of the offensive line in free agency. As you mentioned, Joe Tooney, Brandon Scherf.
Right.
I mean, Trent Williams might be an option. You could even trade for the Ravens, Orlando Brown, and then
Right.
maybe move Dwayne Brown to the right side. I mean, there's a variety of ways you could go. The Seahawks only have about $4 million in cap space. You could increase that by restructuring Wilson's contract, Bobby Wagner's contract. You could extend Jamal Adams. You could extend Tyler Lockett. You could restructure or extend Carlos Dunlap. There's so many ways to go about in creating cap space. And so to me, that's not an issue whatsoever. But as I said, address the interior offensive line of free agency, give Russell Wilson more input on who's and what's happening in the organization and the franchise. And last but not least, let Russ cook again. Let him run more up tempo. Let him have more say over the offense. We can't continue to be a ground and pound football team because we don't have the personnel to do that anymore. And we have to adapt to the modern NFL. Pete Carroll is insisting on running a dinosaur scheme. Look at, we're 1-4 in the last couple of years in the playoffs. Obviously, something isn't working. We can't continue to run the football with the top 5 quarterback, with the top 10 wide receiver in DK Metcalf, another top 15 wide receiver in Tyler Lockett. Obviously, our personnel is more suited to more of a passing attack. And like what we saw last year, that worked very, very well, tremendously well. But because our offensive line cratered toward the end of the year, because we didn't have a reliable third option in the passing game, because Russell Wilson struggled, and because Coach Pete Carroll lost all of his faith in the star quarterback. Think about it. If you're a top 5 quarterback in the league and your coach went away from you just because he had a couple of turnover-filled games, how would you feel as a quarterback? One of the metaphors that I used in my last video was Coach Pete Carroll and the Seahawks organization gave Russ the keys to a Lamborghini, right? When they let him cook first 7 to 8 games of the season. After a couple of parking tickets, which after a couple of turnover played or filled games, they took those keys to the Lamborghini and they gave him the keys to a Honda Accord. They started running the football again to an old dinosaur scheme. And so if you're a star quarterback and your coach loses all faith in you and gives you the keys to a Honda Accord and takes away the keys takes away the keys to a Lamborghini, how would you feel? And so that's the way I look at it. And of course, we got to start winning football games. We haven't been out of the divisional round since 2014. So obviously there has to be something done about that. But those are the 3 things that I need to see done for Russell Wilson to want to remain in Seattle.
Yeah, and I think it's tough. It's you guys, and then obviously the Browns Ravens division in terms of, I mean, you look at the Seahawks division right now. It's a very aired out system. You see the 49ers, who are a big throwing system. We've obviously seen LaFleur go to the Jets, and how they've basically their entire quarterback implementation and what they're going to do next season has been wrapped around, LaFleur and how he was the, obviously 49ers quarterback coach and how he loves the throwing system, blah, blah. Then you have the 49ers, who next year with that defense back, I mean, I don't want to play them. I don't think the Seahawks want to play them. I don't think Russell Wilson with a bad offensive line wants to play them. And then you obviously have the Cardinals, who, Kyler Murray's had his struggles. You have DeAndre Hopkins. You have a defense which can be built. You obviously have Chandler Jones coming back. That division is really competitive. You lose Russell Wilson, you're not winning a game in that division. You're not. You're not going to win a game. The defense, Dunlap was good. Wagner's getting older, and we didn't see as much of that spark, as much of really what Wagner's been, such a good middle linebacker for a long time. Last year, not a hit on Wagner, still amazing. But you're in a division where, you need to compete at least for the foreseeable future, because these teams are young and are going to get better. If the 49ers get a quarterback in the draft or trade for one like Darnold or I mean, who knows, maybe they go out and get Deshaun Watson. I mean, if you're a Seahawks fan right now, a lot of these teams are going up and up and up and up. I mean, the Rams just got Stafford, which I think can be not a nightmare, but I mean, man, you wanted to keep Goff. That was, if you're a Seahawks fan, you wanted them to hold on to Goff. Stafford now will cater towards that throw it out system, a great quarterback, someone who I think will be amazing with the Rams. So again, I think, offensive line needs to be addressed. And right now, obviously the Seahawks do not have a first round pick with the trade with Jamal Adams. I'm not sure what second round pick they have. I don't know if they do have one this year.
It's 58th overall.
58th, right? Sorry.
If I'm not mistaken, I could be mistaken.
No, I think you're right. And there again, good inside offensive lineman, a ton of tackles in the class. But if you were to look at the Seahawks for next season and put I know this is the last situation we want to hear. If Russ goes, what's the plan?
Wow. Obviously, if he goes, I expect not 3 first-round picks. I expect 4.
Yeah, a ton. Like more than Deshaun Watson.
More than Deshaun Watson. I understand he's a little bit older. I understand his contract is a little harder to manage than Deshaun Watson's, but I don't know. With those 3 or 4 first-round picks, not only do I expect those picks in return, I expect a young quarterback. And I expect Seattle to revert back to the strategy that they used in the 2013, 2014 years, in which they had a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract making peanuts, and then building around on defense, building towards a ground attack. I look at the Miami Dolphins as a very, very logical landing spot, especially if it were to come to a trade with Seattle and Miami. I mean, look, I like Tua Tagovailoa. I've compared him to Russell Wilson
Mhm.
in the past, and in a hypothetical deal, I would expect Tua Tagovailoa. Let's say a trade happens this offseason for whatever reason. I'd expect a trade centered around Tua Tagovailoa, third overall pick, the 18th overall pick, Houston's first round pick next year, a second round pick this year, and maybe a second round pick next year. If the trade were to happen next year, I'd still expect somewhere around the same package, at least a minimum of 3 first round picks. I want a young quarterback on a rookie contract, and I expect a few elite defenders, if not second round picks. And so I expect Seattle to semi rebuild, but I expect them to revert back to the approach that, won them those Super Bowls, or won them that Super Bowl back in the 2013, 2014 season.
It's going to be crazy. I mean, man, I feel like we might be everyone might, obviously not you, but a lot of people might be completely blowing this out of the water because, content. Oh my God, Russell Wilson, 2 top 5 quarterbacks are possibly on the market. Let's see how many teams, who will he go to? Watson. I mean, it's crazy because we saw the market, obviously, when Stafford, that was the first quarterback trade, right? It was Stafford to the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like, oh my God, you got 2 first rounders and a third and Goff for, Stafford. How? There's no way. And then obviously, what was it? Then it was the Wentz trade, and it's like, oh, all right. I mean, I guess technically conditional second round that can turn into a first, and most likely will. Who knows? Maybe Darnold moves, and then the quarterback market starts to drop a little bit in terms of value. But with this, I mean, it's. I feel I'm gonna to close it out. I mean, I don't think Wilson will get traded. At the end of the day, I think it's just people are giving him an ego that he doesn't have. I think he will simply be like, hey, I need a little bit more say. We see Bruce Arians embrace Tom Brady. We saw what they did in a year.
Exactly.
He got players, and they won the Super Bowl. Again, it's Tom Brady. But, Russ is a good quarterback, a very capable quarterback, a top 3 quarterback when he has weapons and can play well. And I think it'll be a very, very fun offseason. I'm second year doing offseason coming up. This is by far the best out of the 2 than last year. But Steve, let them know where they can find you, obviously, as you get to the end.
Gotcha. For those of you who don't already know, at STEEZY A Smith, STEEZYA SMITH, on all social media platforms, especially YouTube and Instagram. Those are my 2 main sources of content. I just created a TikTok, so if you guys can also get at me on there. I do a lot of Seattle-based stuff. Obviously, I'm based in Seattle. I'm a big Seahawks guy, as bro said, but I also do a whole lot of other things. It might be surprising to hear, but I'm more of an NBA guy. I'm more of a basketball guy. NBA is my number 1 sport. And so NBA, NFL, I have a baseball guy on my team. I love boxing, MMA, soccer, all that. So expect a whole lot of content on my channel. I'm still currently in school. I'm an aspiring sports journalist. So if you guys want to get to know me more, if you guys want to show me some love, don't forget to look me up at STEEZY A Smith, and don't forget to subscribe over here at the Sports Scoop. Once again, thanks for having me on here, bro. Of course. Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, guys, as he said, make sure to go check him out. I will have all his links down below. You can his Instagram, YouTube, very popular on YouTube, gets a ton of views and stuff over there. So make sure to go check him out. As you said, make sure to subscribe, like the video. I usually when it's breaking news, not breaking news, but stuff like this where we don't edit the videos, we kind of just record a few shorter, but this was a great video. We'll definitely be getting STEEZY on again. Hopefully we can get, a couple people we could chop it up about the Seahawks and other things. But thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe. Check out all of our socials. Check out all of STEEZY's socials. We will see you in our next video. Thank you for watching.